Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Garden Beehive channel. My name is Chris. It is pre-spring is what I'm going to call it. It's different in every region, obviously. We are in the Blue Mountains of Southeast Washington at about 4,000 feet, roughly. So as you can see, there's still snow on the ground. It is really a nice day. I don't know. Let's figure out what the temperature is. Hey Siri, what's the temperature outside?
It's currently 56 degrees.
56, so that's a little further up. We're usually a couple degrees cooler here, but we're splitting fine hairs. In any case, I want to check the temperature of the inside of the hives. It's been a month since we did the temperature. Last time was the end of January. It's now the end of February. The bees are pretty active today, so I'm going to try and make it short and sweet, because as we saw in the last video, they get a little sassy in the winter. But 56 degrees, 55, 56, and the bees are out flying. They're active. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. So 54 on the outside. It looks like it might be close to 60 degrees on the inside. But nonetheless, having a beehive get all the way through winter, the end of February, and they're this active when it's 55 or so outside is a really, really good sign. Just one more reason I absolutely love these hives. So let's go check on the other hive, see how they're doing, and then get out of here before we get stung. Okay, this is the other hive on the other side of the cabin. Not as active, but they are active. There's some bees flying in and out of there, so I'll get a shot of that for you. And this hive, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to be as sassy in the winter. So I'm going to try and open that gate up a little bit more and get a better temperature reading on the inside. I'm super happy that these guys survived the winter. I was kind of worried about them because they just don't seem as strong. This is a split that we made from the other hive last year. And one of the mistakes I made is we just split them and left them. And that's what I learned from a YouTube video from Dr. Leo. I'm not sure that's the right way to do it. In reading about raising queens, an emergency queen, which is what they would have had to make, is not going to be a high producing or a higher quality queen. So, did it work? Yes. Is it the best way to do it? I'm not convinced that it is. So anyway, it worked. And we got honey, and they're doing good. They survived the winter, so there's not a lot to complain about. So just open that up, and we'll see. Oh yeah, so 53 again. So we're gonna call that 53 degrees on the inside. Let's get a reading on the outside for just cause. So 54 on the outside. $52 to $55. So, nonetheless, on the inside of the hive, that's pretty good. I'm going to say no problems. And they're flying around They're alive, they survived the winter, and that's a good day. Now, here's another mistake that I've discovered that we made, or almost potentially made, and let's do this. I have a little experiment going, because our property in Alaska, I want to be able to raise bees, but it gets to like minus 60 there, and that's just too cold. It is a standard practice, from what I understand, in Alaska, for people to kill their bees off in the winter, or just before winter, and then buy all new bees every year. Or they'll send them, I don't know, to a warehouse or somewhere that keeps them warm. That seems super weird to me too. So I thought, if we could get a solar panel and a battery and a little warmer on the bottom, we could do this. Here's what I proved thus far on trial 1. It works. I've got a monitor in here for both temperature and humidity. The humidity would be interesting to know, so it's just good information. But I can set that temperature to only turn the warmers on, let's say, to keep it at 30 degrees. So if it's minus 60, it's keeping it at 30 degrees. And I've proven that I can do that, which is good. So we could keep bees in Alaska, and everybody else could as well. The problem being, you need a much bigger solar panel with a much bigger battery system to maintain that throughout the winter with the lack of sun. If you can plug it into electricity, good to go. And that's what we plan on doing. I don't think you can do it with solar. There's not enough sun to keep it going. And to have a separate generator running on propane or something, that's a hefty setup. So anyway, side note. So that's what's going on here as you guys look at that. The other thing that I discovered, try to avoid keeping your beehives this close together. You're going to get some wandering. I know there's a specific term. I can't think of it off the top of my head. You're going to get some, I'm just going to call it wandering, between the two hives. So some bees are not going to go back to their hive, and that's going to increase the potential for diseases. So we're going to actually separate our hives and not have them all together in one place. My original plan was we would have 50 or so hives right in this pretty close proximity. I'm going to separate these out more by probably 30 to 50 yards at least, and keep them separated so that you don't get that cross between one hive to the other, to help minimize the chances of disease. So mimicking exactly what they do in nature. And that's what we're trying to do with the horizontal hive already. So we're going to take that a step further and separate these hives. So while I'm at it, I might as well show you how to set these hives up. I don't know, probably knee height to the bottom here. And at least for my height, once you put the beehive on top, I think that's the close to perfect. As close to perfect as perfect needs to be, to put the Layens Garden Beehive on top of that to be able to work out at a comfortable height. If you're taller, make it taller. If you're shorter, make it shorter. Super simple. 2x6, 2x6 all the way around. And then a 2x4 for the foot that goes here. And then another 2x4 behind that goes all the way to the top. So she is good and solid. That is what I wanted, and that's what we got. So anyway, we want to make this as level as possible. So when the bees build their comb and do their thing, everything is nice and level. To my understanding, that's reasonably important. So that is what we're going to do. I just eyeballed this a little bit. So we need to go down on this edge. So let's see if we can, should have brought a shovel. Beautiful. 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 Okay, so we're in the center of the bubble thing on all four. You're going to have bears, you're going to have raccoons, depending on your area, trying to get into this thing. Lots of people use electric fence, and that's an option with spreading these out. I don't think that's the best option for us. So what I do is put a fence post, a T-post in the back, and attach the frame and the hive to that. It's not perfect, like nothing is perfect, but it's good enough, and it's going to have to be good enough. The other thing probably worth mentioning, some of you may be wondering why I'm not using pressure treated wood. In this area, we just don't have to. It's not that wet. Now at our Oregon property, you better use pressure treated wood. This would be rotten in 1 year over there. So just two completely different climates. So I'm going to go get a T-post. We'll put that in, screw this to it, and then we'll put the beehive on the top, and it'll be ready to accept a new colony of bees later this spring. And then we could put a strap that connects this, the lid, the frame, everything together. So again, not that we expect it to be perfect, but at least it's going to give it a good fighting chance. And this guy is ready for the spring. I'm not going to put the little design on here and the number, because we'll paint this hive a different color. We'll give her a good fresh coat of paint this spring before we put bees in there, and then I'll put a number tag on it, and then put one of those little designs somewhere on here. So this hive looks completely different than the one that's right behind you. I'm going to say at about 30 yards. So that's how you set them up. Pretty cool.